derived from the leaves of the coca plant. When cocaine enters the body, it has a strong effect on body functions by acting as an irritant on the brain. Large overdose of cocaine causes convulsions, then death. Cocaine causes unusual and often unpredictable feelings and actions. In his ignorance, Marty took that dare, little knowing the eventual horror that lay in the deadly white powder.
Marty, have you seen the painting shears I bought last week? Can't seem to find them anywhere. Marty, you don't seem right. I'm worried about you. There's something wrong. I'm going to take you down to Dr. Peters this afternoon for a checkup.
No, I'm all right.
As his body gradually built up a tolerance, he needed more and more of the drug.
Hello, hello, testing, 1 2 1 2. Good evening. Bridge Sky here, I'm here. K.I.S.S Recovery 101. This is a fun podcast. It's live, and I am not alone. I think I've roped in a consistent monthly co-host to go through the steps. Now, okay, let me turn off the music and the banner. Last year, we did go through all the 12 steps via Back to the Basics. So this year, I thought it was important to go through the book that I needed before the big book, because the big book pissed me off. But I found A Woman's Way through the 12 steps, and that was my saving grace. Let me tell you, I was able to make that big book written 100 years ago. Just kidding, that's a little exaggerated. 100 years ago by 100 men.
Roughly, yeah.
I was able to make it standable, and now, definitely way more than I could definitely bear a lot of it. And I could just twist a couple words here and there, and it's 100% relatable to women. So, co-host tonight, Mike. You've been on the show before. I'm so happy that you said yes to do this tonight, because I'm trying not to. I took away your banner. Let's put your banner back up. Mike is here, and we are gonna do the show. I was thinking we could do a step a month, and tonight we're gonna talk about step 1. And Mike, you gotta get the chair next to me. I don't have COVID. I'm healthy. Just get really close. But we're just gonna share this mic, because I find that less interrupting. When we used to have 2 mics, 2 microphones. A lot of interrupting. So, Mike, how you doing? How have things been? Would you say, especially with the weather, especially now we've made it through the holidays, how are you doing in your recovery?
Well, hey, Bridge, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm doing well. Not really loving the cold and whatnot, but making the best of it. I was going to say this winter seems to have been wearing on me a little more than normal, but like we were talking about earlier, it kind of seems like it's a seasonal thing, so maybe it's just another one of those things where Mother Earth is telling me to get the hell out of this state.
Well, I say that every year, Mike. Every year. But I love fall.
Right.
And once spring comes, I'm like, oh, I survived. I forget about the pain again. So so if this is your first time listening, K.I.S.S is keep it simple, stupid. And I love that. And Recovery 101, basic stuff. And what better way to kick off this year with the step 1. So if you didn't get a chance to read the post, I'll read it for you right now. The 12 steps to recovery is not a man's world, but to a woman, it can sometimes seem that way. Revealing the messages beneath the male-oriented words from the big book, we're going to be discussing the perspective today, for us today, present moment, rather than something that was published in 1939. Relating addiction and recovery with the present social and cultural factors that affect women versus men. This is not a competition. I'll just tell you that, Mike. Recovery raises specific issues for women about sexuality, relationships, and daily life that many men just can't understand. It's not your fault. You weren't born. But there's a lot of, constructs that we're definitely going to get into tonight. But, Mike, would you say you connected well with the 12 steps your first run through? How long would you say it took you to finally kind of come to the other side of, oh, this all makes sense?
Yeah, I definitely did not like anything about the steps my first time looking at them. First time into treatment was back in 2015 into 2016, and yeah, it's funny. I talk about it sometimes. Like I had my big book, and I would read it every single night before I went to bed, but I would skip right past those first 164. I didn't really want to do any of that work or any of that deflation stuff or, admitting any kind of shortcomings or anything because, well, for one, I hadn't completely conceded that I was done burning my life to the ground. But, the other thing was, too, like, I wasn't there for me. I didn't have that willingness. I hadn't admitted that I was, powerless over alcohol yet. So looking at all those steps and stuff just seemed like a lot of work and a lot of craziness, So I don't want to do all that stuff. I don't have time for that.
A lot of self-reflection. So, Mike, somebody new, completely new, might be listening. Do you want to go ahead and read what the first step is according to AA? And any other 12 steps, NA and SA and OA. Read the first step here.
Well, yeah, so the AA one is we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable.
Okay, and what I like to highlight is for 17 years, Mike, I didn't notice the first word, and the first step is we. I kept trying to do it by myself for a long time until I kept figuring out, this isn't working. Oh, I can't do this by myself.
Sometimes a little bit of help.
Yes, is beneficial.
Right.
Okay, so if you don't have it, and what's wonderful, Mike, I used to go to a lot of meetings, sometimes just impromptu, and I remember going to like the Saturday morning 9 o'clock meeting, and it was all men, and I was finally starting to come out of my shell a little bit, and I mentioned that, no, I don't really know the big book like word for word, but I've read through the Women's Way through the 12 steps, and they're like, well, and I read a couple things, and they're like, well, is it just for women, or do you want to like keep coming back and share some of that shit? Because it's like cool. So Stephanie Covington wrote it. So a woman's way through the 12 steps. I just checked on Amazon, by the way. You can get a used one for $5.42, Mike.
Nice.
Okay, it's in my wish list. So don't get the audiobook.
No.
Nope.
Okay.
I recommend that. I got it recently, and I just certain accents, kind of, I don't know, whatever triggers anger. So nothing against Stephanie, but I don't know if it's her voice, but something about, for me, I am such an analyzer sometimes, and just tone of voice, and maybe she was nervous or something that day, lots of coffee. I was having a hard time. I'm like, this is not the same book that I read in my head. Okay, well, anyway, I'm going to read a little bit from it, and then I got a great clip. And we're not going to do the hot seat. I liked what we were doing with the risky relationships. We're going to do pro tips so that someone today, right through, and I do the steps like continuously. So, and I'm actually going to be going through this again through this book, can do today. And they're simple and they're basic and they're professional tips, Mike. This is not my own personal. Okay. So, if you have the book, you're looking at it, page 17, when we do dare openly admit we have a problem with alcohol or other drugs, we become vulnerable to criticism and rejection, adding another pressure to maintain our denial. The unfortunate truth is that our society judges women with addictions more severely than men in those same situations. Being a drunk or an addict is bad enough. Being a female drunk or addict is doubly shameful. Women addicts are often stereotyped as promiscuous, slovenly, and immoral. If we have children, we are often shamed further by ourselves and others. If we are drinking or using interferes with our ability to care for our children, hence why I have a group called the Bad Moms Club. Badass moms. But it says the only way out. So cultural messages about what it means to be a woman also strengthen our denial. As women, we are expected to direct our attention toward caring for others. We may believe it is selfish to focus on ourselves. We may feel we are demanding too much when we ask for what we need, set limits, or just say no, Mike. Oh, God. Ugh. If we step outside the roles expected of us, we risk being told we're not giving enough of ourselves or fulfilling our feminine, that's in quotations, feminine role. All these pressures to be selfless can make it hard to look inside and see our own needs. This keeps us in denial. And this spoke so true to my heart. And I really never had, up until I was 39 years old, ever thought that I was allowed to do that. I felt like so many people were like, you got to put recovery first, Bridge. And I'm like, that's so selfish. My kids come first. And that was definitely rooted in my childhood. I was last in my childhood. I never understood that. So for me, my kids, I wanted to make sure that they never felt how I felt. So I was like, recovery was like the second. But guess what, Mike? There came a point when the kids were removed from me. And I was forced to put recovery first if I ever wanted my kids back again. But it was, now I could say, something that I needed to understand why it's so important that I say no when I need to say no, and it's okay. And I'm not this evil, awful, sinning female. So what I just read there, Mike, would you say you agree or disagree? Anything stood out to you at all?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's definitely I'm learning here in hearing that. I mean, I guess I can, any opportunity to empathize and so to understand a little bit better too. I mean, I could definitely see that some people would have that approach towards women in particular versus men. The thing is too, though, what you're hitting on for sure is that your program has to be your priority to begin with, at least. I mean, you got to put that in front of almost everything else as much as you can. Because the thing is, you get the distractions and you try to be part of a person for people. And until you get that healing done and get that self-awareness figured out and that self-worth put where it needs to be, you're only partially there. And I think that's not gender specific, right? I think that can kind of go across all lines there.
Definitely.
But yeah, it's kind of like that, I don't want to get ahead of us, that clip you had shared earlier.
Oh, it's coming
too,
up.
though, right?
I'm getting you ready. Keep talking.
Well, I wonder too, though. I mean, a lot of times they say like the worst prison we'll ever be placed in is the fear of other people's thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And we can impose ourselves into that little corner, into that terrible spot, and that that overthinking and that torment that we put on ourselves. And that's the thing too, is I think in finding that self-worth, we start to understand that other people's opinions of us really is none of our business, right? You start to actually be able to embolden yourself, and you don't need that outside validation. And when you don't need the outside validation, you don't really care about the criticism either then, right? Take that weight away.
Mike, you're going to love my pro tips tonight. One thing that stood out to that reading just again now, let's just talk about men versus women, right? And you could agree or disagree, but this is just, again, an assumption. But sex. Let's talk about sex, Mike. Okay? So if I hear, well, not me, but in general, a female sleeping with slept with a lot of people or sleeps with a lot of people, she's a slut. But if a dude does it, ooh, he must have something special, like he's a stud. Right, the two S's.
Or a fuckboy.
Yeah. Okay.
Language.
But still, that's something to that's still a good thing. Like he's he's whatever. But right there's that double standard. Mm-hmm. Okay. So would you agree or disagree with that? That still is present today.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Do you know any females that have that reputation of sleeping around and it's a good thing?
No.
Okay.
No.
Let's be honest.
Yeah. No. No, I can definitely. I mean, that's been around as long as people have had opinions too, right? I mean, people are going to impose that on women if they're more promiscuous, and they must be slutty and they have no moral compass and things of that nature. And guys, on the other hand, can be a little bit more celebrated, right? Like yes. He's a real man, but it's all bullshit,
100%.
Yeah.
And that's why you're my co-host, Mike, because you're actually a good guy. And yeah, so let's get into the clip because I love this clip. Brene Brown, listening to shame. We're just going to play 3 minutes, but she really points out that men's perspective that it's so weird because I can't find. I was doing a search just for that specific piece, and I cannot find it. Like, it did not stand out on her TED Talk a lot. I can't believe that for me, it's right away. I have 4 boys that I'm raising, and One's a man, technically, he's 18. The other one's 17. And I want to make sure, that these things that she talks about, it's important that it's for men to be able to share when they're having shame. Okay, you ready? Okay, I think I got it. Here we go. Okay, now remember our mics will still be on, but one who is loyal and consistent and always hears my tech assistant here, Sally the speaker. You ready, Sally? Oh, she's my best friend, Mike. She's here for me every week. Here we go. Okay, Brene Brown, listening to shame.
Shame for women is this web of unattainable, conflicting, competing expectations about who we're supposed to be. And it's a straitjacket. For men, shame is not a bunch of competing, conflicting expectations. Shame is one. Do not be perceived as what? Weak. I did not interview men for the first 4 years of my study. And it wasn't until a man looked at me one day after a book signing and said, "I love what you have to say about shame. I'm curious why you didn't mention men." And I said, "I don't study men." And he said, "That's convenient." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because you say to reach out, tell our story, be vulnerable. But you see those books you just signed for my wife and my 3 daughters?" I said, "Yeah. They'd rather me die on top of my white horse than watch me fall down." When we reach out and be vulnerable, we get the shit beat out of us. And don't tell me it's from the guys and the coaches and the dads. Because the women in my life are harder on me than anyone else. So I started interviewing men and asking questions. And what I learned is this. You show me a woman who can actually sit with a man in real vulnerability and fear, I'll show you a woman who's done incredible work. You show me a man who can sit with a woman who's just had it. She can't do it all anymore. And his first response is not, "I unloaded the dishwasher." But he really listens, because that's all we need. I'll show you a guy who's done a lot of work. Shame is an epidemic in our culture. And to get out from underneath it, to find our way back to each other, we have to understand how it affects us and how it affects the way we're parenting, the way we're working, the way we're looking at each other. Very quickly, some research by Mahalik at Boston College. He asked, what do women need to do to conform to female norms? The top answers in this country: nice, thin, modest, and use all available resources for appearance. When he asked about men, what do men in this country need to do to conform with male norms? The answers were: always show emotional control, work is first, pursue status, and violence. If we're going to find our way back to each other, we have to understand and know empathy, because empathy is the antidote to shame. If you put shame in a petri dish, it needs 3 things to grow exponentially: secrecy, silence, and judgment. If you put the same amount of shame in a petri dish and douse it with empathy, it can't survive. The 2 most powerful words when we're in struggle: me too.
Oh my God! I almost wanted to cry hearing that piece where she said they'd rather see him die on top of that white horse than to fall. Oh, it still makes me want to cry. So yes, so if you're listening, this is a live show. Oh, look there's our alarm. Kiss Interact. So that's the alarm to remind me it's not just you and I, Mike. It's live for a reason. So comments, questions, viewpoints. Let's see. Jennifer said, what exactly is this? This is a podcast. It goes for an hour. I try to keep to that, so we'll be done here.
Under like an hour and a half.
We got 40 minutes. Like, yeah. Well, no, I'm trying to be mindful. That's one of my things. Be mindful of other people's time. And Kimberly Ann says, love this. Oh, thanks. So, Mike, from that clip, what stood out to you?
Yeah, I listened to that a couple of times. First time I listened to it, the imagery of you'd rather see him die on that white horse. I immediately got mad. I was like, that guy needs to get the hell out of there. Like, those people are toxic. But I thought about it a little bit more too, and I started to think, is that a perceived thought for this guy? Like, would his family really rather see him completely destroyed than for him to open up and say, hey, I need some help, you know? And I think that's something that a lot of us do to ourselves too, I have this huge resentment with societal norms. I've been working on it. Every time I've done my 4th step, it comes up again, and I try to work on that. But those societal norms, they don't do anybody any favors. They completely clip any individualism. They hide, like we're talking about for guys and for women as well too, though, the shame of it, of reaching out for help, right? It's this perceived weakness or something, but it's not. It's absolutely the opposite of that, is that you're willing to go do something that wouldn't be normal, but it's it's right for you. If you're brave enough to know that you need help, then by all means go get some of that, and she got around to the empathy piece, and I absolutely love that too, and that's something I work on every single day. It's kind of funny. I've had mixed reviews on this, but like when people are venting, they're having a bad day or sharing that with me, sometimes I actually have to stop and ask and say, are we just venting or are we solution seeking? Because I want to figure out what kind of listener I need to be, and to see, obviously you want to hear everything of what somebody has to say, and sometimes they just want you to just shut up and listen,
Yes, most times.
And I will be the first to admit I have a hell of a time with that sometimes, it's something I'm working on, though. It's something I'm aware of, but the empathy piece too, though, the thing is, there's verbal and nonverbal things that you can see in people, I think, when they need help, right? And sometimes people aren't at a point where they have that self-worth again, where they think it's okay for them to ask for help, right? They feel like they're always imposing on people. They feel like they're always a burden. And when they really need that help, then they're afraid to ask.
Yes. Well, they say that the people that are the most unlovable are the ones that need the love the most. And I'll tell you, I've worked with some folks that are just mean to me. Okay? Well, that's why I learned boundaries. But I was the only one that they could talk to, and when they had a bad day, unfortunately, they were taking it out on me, but I had to draw that line in a nice way and just say, hey, I totally get it. I'm trying to meet you where you're at, but you need to stop calling me names. And, okay, let's not do tit for tat here. We got another comment. Let's see. Kelsey said, thank you for doing this. This is my first meeting. This seems kind of like a meeting, right? Yeah, it does. Sure is. It only takes 2. Yeah. After a 5-month relapse on weed, I'm trying to get back into recovery. This is my first step. Thanks again. Oh my gosh. Beautiful.
Happy you're listening.
Yes, welcome. And yes, here's the thing though. Like, I just got 3 years. Okay. Sure. Yeah, but alcohol and drugs for me was just a symptom. Like, the isms of alcoholism, isms. So there was a lot of things that the isms came before I found drugs and alcohol. So really, now that I've really gone through these steps and I've really done some good, hard self-reflection, I find, Mike, that it's very easy for me to come to addicted to other things that are not good. Instead of moderating whatever, chocolate, I'll start with chocolate, okay? But other things too.
I'm no good at chocolate. All the sweets.
Yes, I find that it makes me feel good and I like it. I'm addicted to it. I overdo it. So it's great to go through these steps, through this. And like I said, it says for Women's Way, but I feel like Ben will definitely benefit. And I need your perspective, too, so that I'm not just spewing out my viewpoint as a woman, but to have that more, we're going to be combined minds here. So just to finish reading what I wanted to read out of the book, and I recommend getting this book, like I said. And then we're going to have the pro tips, and then we're going to I'm still doing the memes. That's my joy. That's my joy, no matter what. It's been a struggle, Mike. So I got some good ones. Yes, I need more funny. I didn't have very many funny ones. Okay, so continuing, it says, the 12 steps emphasize on cooperative power, but that may not seem obvious at first because the original AA literature contains many references to a very different kind of power, a style referred to as power over. Power over is about winning and losing, control and dominance. Well, many women don't relate very well to this kind of power. If anything, we know what it's like to be on the receiving end of it, to be dominated by someone else. Rather than experiencing power as a battle, women seem to more easily identify with the idea of power with or power to. Unlike the struggle involved in power over, the idea is to share power so that we can create more of it. Ooh, don't you love that? Oh, I'll tell you, I didn't like that powerless word. I was like, fuck that. It says, in recovery, we develop the power of choice. In recovery, we develop the power of choice. When we're struggling with an addiction, our choices are very limited. The addiction decides what we'll do and where we'll go and how we'll act. By taking the first step, we regain the power to decide for ourselves. By admitting our lack of control over our addictions, we empower ourselves to experience a whole new life. Awareness of unmanageability in your life is a sign that you are on the recovery path. What I loved about, okay, so I did not like, here's where I stayed in denial for a while, Mike. Unmanageable, fuck that. I had a great job, a car, a house, and I was doing that shit by myself with my kids. So I'm like, I'm not unmanageable. It wasn't until somebody broke it down for me and was like, okay, so let's take it to when you're using. Do things get unmanageable? Well, yeah, if I'm waking up, missing my clothes, vomiting my hair, yeah, that's not how I wanted it to go. That was very not managed well. Right. So, okay, fine. I see some truth in this step. I can work with that. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like powerless because, yes, she's right. In this book, she's right. I had power taken away from me since the day I was born. Very controlling parents. Society is very controlling. And so, for me, part of my use was this release of, and I felt very powerful and I was my own master. Of course, eventually that caught up to me pretty quickly. But I realized admitting, that when I lost any sense of moderation, any sense of control, I had no fucking power. And it really got me into some really scary situations and doing things that I never would have done clear-headed. And, long-term use. I had a long-term use, Mike. So I was in denial for a very long time because I was very good at putting that mask on and smiling and being the obedient female that a lot of is expected in society. The best mom and the best work employee and whatever. And I wasn't authentic at all. And I was so buried in that denial that that's who I thought I was. And so admitting that, yes, for me, it's like I'm powerless in the sense of I'm not authentically me. Yeah, I lose. And here's the best part, Mike. When I made this decision, this last run here now 3 years ago, and I'm like, I'm all doing it all recovering. I was angry about it. Let me tell you, I wasn't happy about it. I built power within myself, confidence. And I needed that anger because it really fueled my fire because I wanted my kids back. Okay. And that fueled my fire to not give a fuck what society thought, not give a fuck what my boss or coworkers or whatever acquaintances I had back then. I didn't have real friends. I didn't have friends, Mike. I didn't care what anybody thought about me no more. I'm doing this for me. I'm going to do this thing. And I started to just gain all this like feeling of powerfulness. And what I know, especially in my first year, was realizing if I had one drink or one hit or one pill, I would lose that power and within my own mind, Mike, within my own thinking, my own credibility, my own character, integrity, all that. So the addiction brain would say, oh, but you could get away with it. No one know. I don't know. Sorry, Mike. I'm rambling.
Honesty,
yes.
That's right.
So, we got some more comments and then Mike, please, you need to do some more talking. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot. But Jennifer said, I'm having a bad day. Oh, what? Sorry. It's a woman's way through the 12 steps. Stephanie Covington. And it is seasonal depression time, Mike. I've been in a funk. I didn't even leave my house for like 3-4 days.
Took me a while to figure out why. I just had no energy and I was so totally indifferent and just not interested in anything.
I woke up. I was gonna cancel the podcast since we didn't do last week.
Right,
I was like, you know what, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed you.
Right. I'm happy you didn't. That the powerless thing for me, I think it's kind of funny, right? Because it's like the very first step there, and it's kind of a contradiction though. Because like if you're saying you're powerless as you're starting to work the steps to recover from your addiction, like I'm powerless. Well, to hell if I'm powerless, I'm here doing something about it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I think that was a big catch for me that the first time I was in treatment as well. Of course, then I wanted to sit and look at all the differences and pick apart every part of the program that I didn't necessarily like, so that way those were, my excuses and justifications for not working, the steps.
100%. Mike, I threw the big book across the room a few times.
Right.
Seriously, I'm like, see, fuck that. I told you.
Right,
This ain't going to work for me.
What is all this stuff they're telling me I got to do, right? I don't want nothing to do with any of it. It was, until the last time when I was really fully broken and I had to concede that, I tried all the different things, the drinking only beer, or, I would get home and I would go get the mail before I mixed my first drink. So that wasn't that bad, right?
Right,
It wasn't the first thing I did.
Just the weekends.
Right. All of that crazy insanity that goes around in the head and the justifications for it. And, finally, when I crashed the last time in the treatment there, it was like, you know what, I'm beat, I am powerless. But that's the beauty of it too, though, right? And we talk about is when we first start to surrender is when we start to win too, right? Getting out of our own way.
Okay. And past tense, were, Mike. Someone else pointed this out. We were powerless. That word right there changed it for me, Mike.
Right.
That's right, motherfuckers. I was powerless. I ain't no more.
Right.
That's what I needed. Because I was hearing all the other things and all the other. Well, a lot of people that share in the meetings were way ahead of me. So they're sharing all the goodness. So I was in an angry place. I don't want to hear that shit. So we were powerless, and that's what I say, especially working with women or in my women's group, like new coming in. You are here. Guess what? You're here. You got some power in my book, and we're gonna start right here.
Oh, I agree. Sure.
Oh yeah. Did you hear the alarm? Just kidding, Mike.
Let me get a
Are you scared?
Place is on fire.
We usually do the hot seat, but guess what, Mike? You're saved.
Yay!
Although, if you're up for it, I was thinking. So, what's great about this book, Mike, is there's a workbook, which really, yes, I brought it. See,
Oh. Nice.
asks you questions through each step, each chapter. It's fantastic. You want to? Can I hit you with a question?
I'll do my best.
Okay, just one.
Okay.
Okay, and this was a great one, I thought. So yeah, I love the workbook too. Some of it's a little redundant, but it's great because in the workbook it says, like, once you get through it with one addiction, go ahead, like shopping addiction, Mike. That was another one. Go through it again.
Retail therapy.
And now I'm working on a new one. I'm going to go through it again with the new addiction that I have. Yikes. So, the question that's right out of the workbook, Mike. So, what's something that you've lied about recently? And don't pick a little white lie like it was, you were nice. I know you're nice. But if you can think about it, I'll share while you think about it because it just happened this week. On accident. But it was true. I lied to myself. I didn't even realize it. So my daughter and my ex-husband, they had a conversation about a situation that happened, and then she had a conversation with me about it. However, her dad and I, like, he gave me the full story, and when she was asking me about, based on her conversation with her dad, I didn't lie. Okay, no, I didn't lie. But I immediately I answered truthfully. So my go-to is always truth and honesty. So without even thinking about our previous agreement that I have with my ex-husband, is when we talk about each other with my daughter, we're going to all be in present because my daughter knows to have separate conversations with us. So I just answered truthfully. I didn't give her the dirty details, but I definitely disclosed a lot more than he did. So last night, in my bed like a dummy, I check a text, but I do that when my kids are away. Yeah, usually I don't try not to because I get stressed out, but I got a message. What the heck? Why did you tell her this? I thought we had this agreement, and I'm very disappointed. And immediately my heart sunk. I'm like, oh my God, I totally spaced on the agreement because we were married for 10 years, Mike, and that my divorce was in 2015. So it's been many years I've been used to not going to him and including him. We've been very separate. But here's what's great about this program, Mike. Right away, I text, well, it was late, so I did say call me, but he did not. I texted him and said, you are right. I am sorry. And that I did not get much sleep last night because I was like, oh my God, you need to understand that this came out of, just complete innocence. However, I did get to talk to him this afternoon in person. I ran up to his car, but I didn't pick up some things, thank goodness. And I caught him off guard because I don't normally do that. I don't normally really care to have conversations unless I have to. But I got to fully explain myself and fully, authentically apologize and completely admit my wrongness, which that takes a lot. That, especially back in the day, I would not never admit no wrongness with that person.
Accountability isn't so terrifying anymore, though, is it?
Yes, but I wanted that moment to look him in his eyes, and I really felt that he felt my genuineness, which was important because we're trying to get on the same page here with our daughter, and I just went off the ramp again. So anything come to you, Mike, that you might have lied about and recently like had to be like, oh, you know what? I might have not came forth with truth. No, nothing. You're shaking your head. You're such a good guy. Okay, wait.
I'm thinking.
I have a backup question.
Last time you had me on, there was one thing I had brought up, that there was somebody I had told that I would forget about something, and I had every intention to forget about that thing, and I didn't, and I brought it up later on, and that's the last time I could think of that.
Okay.
I mean, I try to do a pretty thorough spot check on a daily basis, so.
Okay, perfect. Because guess what? I have a backup question right out of the workbook. I thought this was a boring one, but this one you can't not answer. Okay, this is a question right out of the workbook. If you hired someone like you to manage your life, so let's picture like a celebrity. They get those like little personal assistants that basically do everything for them.
Right.
So if you had to hire someone like you to manage your life today, okay, what don't you like about this person? So
about myself.
Yeah, so imagine yourself being that little personal assistant, managing your life. What would you say you don't like about that person? I'm not trying to call you out here, Mike, but I am.
Oh, boy.
Great question, right?
Right.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess more so very much recently here with the weather and all this, I would tell them to find some damn energy for me. Some interest, some... I don't know. I guess there's one. It's kind of a character defect, I guess, as well too. But like, I derive my self-worth on purpose, and trying to find things that are worthwhile to do in places that I'm supposed to be. And sometimes I'll drive myself a little bit insane with doing that. Like, I definitely could do a much better job of learning how to take it easy more often, which is actually kind of funny with this whole like being just down in the dumps lately too. It's like, I'm way too comfortable taking naps all the time. And I love it, and I feel like there's something wrong with that, but in reality,
no,
there isn't. It's just not something that I'm used to. It's different, so it feels like it's wrong. But like we talk about, right? Like,
bad?
Yeah, well, because it's unfamiliar, so it's uncomfortable. So you feel like it might be something wrong. But the thing is, too, this whole program's about change and growth, right? So like, maybe something that's good for you one day might not be the best for you the next, but. Yeah, if I had an assistant that had to change anything about me, it would probably, to maybe be a little bit less busy.
Yeah.
That's one of those things I hate that when you ask people how they're doing and the response is busy. I'm like, that's not a response.
Yeah.
Like you're good, you're bad, you're happy, you're sad, you're frustrated, you're excited. Busy isn't, busy's, it's not I don't know.
I'm fine.
Yeah, fine, I'm fine.
Fucked up, irrational, neurotic, and emotional.
Right.
Would you rather have that?
Yeah. I don't know. They're both equally like.
But it's hibernation season too.
Right.
And it is okay to do those things. However, with that self-awareness piece, when is it not okay?
Right.
Is like when you start pushing people away, or maybe when, I'm not calling you out, just saying in general. Like for me, Mike, I've been in a funk myself. And honestly, I'm so glad you said yes, because I don't know if I would have made the decision to continue.
I'm happy you did.
But just your yes got me making a whole new logo, doing more, pulling out my books, and I'm like, yay, someone is back on recovery with me. Okay, so, let's see. Oh, Sarah's on. Yes. Okay, so let's get to the positive pro tips. You ready?
Yeah.
And
pro tips.
Again, these pro tips are perfect for your response to your question there, Mike, because I think one of the biggest things that resonated with my pro tips. So one of the big books that changed my life, it's not a big book actually, it's a little book. It's called The 4 Agreements. And so pro tip is read The 4 Agreements. Oh my God, this book changed my life. So there's these 4 really great agreements. But the hard part is there's thousands of agreements every single individual walking this planet made as children that we grew up in our households, in our religion or our society or our culture, that were made for us, that we believe that really might not resonate with who you are today. Thousands. This is 100% true, Mike. Yeah. And I definitely struggled with a lot. So it's hard. It's been hard. But this book, these 4 agreements totally make sense. And now they've become much easier. And now they're my go-to, Mike. They're my savior, especially dealing with other people. But one of the things is you gotta let those old agreements go. And I recommend to get the book because, let me grab it. It's way back over there. And it gets redundant. You could buy, there's this little mini book version of it. I love it, from Taryn Safefsky. But the 4 agreements, you ready, Mike?
Yeah.
Number 1, be impeccable with your word. And it's great because this book breaks down impeccable means to be impeccable, something without sin. I can't remember.
Say what you mean and mean what you say.
Yes, without sin. But what's great is I hate the word sin. Okay, so it breaks down. Sin actually means to so impeccable means without sin, and sin means without go. Sin means to go against oneself, to go against yourself, what you know as it is, and really. We're the only mammals on the planet that have language, that speak, like really, like language talk speak. Okay, you're going to have people that are like, well, whales speak, monkeys talk. No, like we're the ones that, and they talk about how words are magic. They're like powerful. They can also be very poisonous and gossip and cast very bad spells. And there's even this story in this book that talks, this 4 Agreements book, where the daughter loves singing, and then the mom's having a bad day one day, and she says, stop singing, you have a terrible voice, right? Yes, but the daughter, without the mom, this is the person that loves her the most, without even realizing it. This daughter made this agreement, it makes me want to cry because I think of my daughter, I would never say that to her, made this agreement within herself that she is not a good singer, and she never sang again.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of those agreements that for my childhood I was never enough. Didn't matter what grades I got, it didn't matter how many activities I did, and I was never enough. I was never lovable. So yeah, being impeccable with your word. So just, a lot of times, like, listening's my go-to. I'd rather listen.
Right.
So I don't say anything stupid. But when I do speak, I will pause. I never used to pause. I used to always be that person that right away I got to fix it, I got to say an answer, I got to respond. But sometimes I just pause. And before I respond. And a lot of times I'm reflective, like, so this is what you said, like to make sure I understood it correctly. But, and then before I speak, I want to make sure that I'm mindful of, because every single person has their own, where they're at in their recovery or in life. And I don't want to ever okay. So the second agreement is don't take anything personally. So what's great about this one is what anyone ever says to you is never about you.
Right. Yep.
It is always them. So this is funny. So they're having a great day. I like what you're wearing today. You know why they said that, Mike? Because they like what they're wearing today. They're feeling good today.
Right. Yep.
So, but on the negative, I have a lot of clients, or I have a lot of people I work with that they're having a bad day. They're taking it out on me, but I know right away, even if it's somebody I barely know, coming at me with some shit, I'm like, oh, what's going on with you? Now, if I like you, I'm going to gauge that. If I don't like you, I just exit. So that was a great one.
Yep.
Third agreement, don't make assumptions. Ever, ever, ever. And I mean, I was to do a show on this later, but the fourth agreement is always do your best.
Yeah.
That's where I think it's hard too, because I have way too high expectations for myself.
Yeah.
So what do you think of that pro tip?
Have
you read the 4 agreements?
I don't know. I think I have at some point. Yeah. I love all of those. I mean, absolutely, to wrap it up with do your best. I mean, that's something I have to say all the time, and it's actually pretty laughable sometimes, when you're talking to somebody about, I did this or I did that, and like, well, I just did my best, and they're like they think that's like a cop out or something, but no, in reality, like that's the extent of it. Like we have these, like, the capacity to be, the OCD and the overthinking and the perfectionist and whatnot, and like at some point you have to have that within yourself to say, yeah, that's as good as that needs to be, or I did my best, and I can move on to the next thing. And the other one I really liked in there too, there's the don't take it personal. Absolutely, there is so much projection from people that have ugly feelings within themselves that they're going to want to put that on somebody else, that might make them feel better or whatnot. And thing is, I always kind of laugh about it, because it's like some stuff, I mean, yeah, maybe it is absolutely personal and you don't know where they're coming from or what kind of day they're having or whatever, but on the same token, like, does it really do you any good to hold on to that? Like, are you just carrying around some extra toxic energy? Like, you kind of gotta let it go and see, maybe they're just a shitty person,
Right.
There's a lot of them running around.
Energy vampires to suck you dry. Suck the niceness right out of me. Okay, pro tip, Number 2, so go ahead and read The Women's Way and get the workbook. And pro tip number 3, okay, page 11 in the workbook. Okay, Mike, again, I told you, I'm so glad you didn't know me. I was a very angry person. I hate the fucking affirmations. Ooh, I am enough. Shut the fuck up. Like, that really, all that cheesy stuff. Yeah, I was not in that kind of place at all. Gratitude, smatitude.
Oh, boy,
like, get away with me from me. So, okay, so this is right out of the workbook. So it says practice affirmations, okay? Do you have some affirmations that you align with?
I don't know what examples. Yeah.
I am enough.
Yeah.
That's the big one. People tattoo that.
I
all the
did
time.
my best.
Yeah.
Right. That's an affirmation.
See, you must have read the 4 Agreements, because when he talks about, fourth agreement, always do your best. They make a point to say, don't overdo. That was me, Mike, the overachiever. I was always above and beyond, way more. But what happens is I'm extending my energy, which means I'm not living my best life. I'm not living at my full capacity because I'm overextending myself, and then I'm losing energy for the people that matter, the things that really matter to me. So page 11 in the workbook. So what's great about the workbook is it gives you self-soothing. So what's great is for a long time, Mike, I did do these steps by myself. Okay, so it was important to self-soothe. But I hated affirmations. So listen to this. It says, admitting powerlessness does not mean admitting worthlessness. So nothing could be further from the truth. If acknowledging that your addiction is a problem causes you to feel your inner self is bad or hateful, try this exercise. So imagine for a moment you're in a small room, the windows are shut, the door is locked, and in this room you hear all the negative voices that plague you. Perhaps they tell you you're selfish for wanting something better than the life you have now. Maybe they say you're worthless because of all the things that you've done. Now imagine that acknowledging your powerlessness over your addiction has unlocked that door. You open the door. Outside is an open meadow bathed in sunlight. As you walk through the door, you're aware that the negative voices stay behind you in that room. Walk through the door out into the sunlight. Now that you're outside, you've become aware of a new voice, a quiet voice. And this voice says, you deserve to be taken seriously. You deserve to be accepted without judgment. And you deserve to ask for and receive help. Help is here, Mike. Isn't that beautiful? So these affirmations that they suggest, and I loved all 3 of them, Mike, it said, I deserve to be taken seriously. Yes. I deserve to be accepted without judgment, especially any new person, caseworker, judge, lawyer, whoever, teacher, get in my face. You don't get to judge me, especially. And I deserve to ask for and receive help. It says it's important to say the affirmations aloud so you hear them with your own voice. This is so true, Mike.
Right. Yep.
So if you had to pick one of these, or if anyone new one came to you and you had to put it on your mirror, you're going to say it tomorrow, Mike, what would you go with?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that, the affirmations thing too, and with the social anxieties I get and stuff like that, there's plenty of times I tell myself it's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. I'll take a break, close my eyes, whatever. I don't know that I necessarily ever say it out loud, though. I should try that sometime.
Yes!
Maybe I won't have to say it so many times if I just say it out loud once or twice. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, these are awesome too, because really what we're doing, we're building up self-worth, right? I mean, that's where everything comes from, right? We have to start being able to believe in ourselves before we can go out and make these improvements and stuff. But I don't know. I guess I deserve to ask for and receive help. I have a hard time asking for that. I'm kind of one of those chronic, independent, I can do it all on my own kind of people. And I've learned a lot in this program for being able to ask for help and whatnot. But I fall back into my old ways sometimes. I mean, such a goofball, I put a winch and a pulley system into my garage so that I wouldn't have to ask anybody to help me take stuff in or out of the truck.
Goodness.
I know, right?
Because you don't want to be a burden, though.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not because you're full of yourself.
No.
See, that squirrel moment brings me right back to that man on the white horse.
Mm-hmm.
It was his wife and his 3 kids. Mm-hmm. I think you're right. I think he's perceiving that he has to be the protector, and that's just an instinct, and their savior and whatever, but at the end of the day, is he talking to them? He's probably, I guarantee if he said to any one of them, I'm really struggling, and I need, help. I guarantee, unless they're little assholes, they're their heart would drop, and they would say, "Oh my gosh, what's going on, Dad?" Or "What's going on, honey?" "Oh my God, I had no idea," because they put that front on.
Right.
And that goes for women too. That was me, Mike.
Absolutely.
It was always the rock. I always had to be the rock for everybody.
Right. Put
But
the walls up, and I don't need any help.
I was saving everybody, taking care of everybody. Who the fuck was saving and taking care of me? Nobody, Mike.
Exactly right. Sometimes you need a hand.
Yes.
There's
Okay.
no harm in that.
Oh, I still got the sound effects. It's meme time. Yeah. So, listeners, we're gonna flash some
This
memes.
is the X-Files, right? I swear, go to sworn
Yes.
oaths from Unsolved Mysteries.
X-Files. It is mysterious and kind of scary, and but smart. I think memes are really clever. I mean, not all of them, but a lot of them are. Oh, Sarah says, I think busy is a common word for overwhelmed. Yes.
See, there's another opportunity for active listening.
Yeah. There you go.
Maybe they have more they want to say than that.
Yes, and my go-to is, do you really want to know? And then that person feels guilty, so I don't even say it. I just say I'm fine. Martin says, awesome. Okay, so here we go. Listeners, I'm going to be flash. I can't see the comments while we're doing this, but feel free to keep commenting because I can look after. So we're going to flash the memes that I picked for the week. Actually, it's been 2 weeks, Mike. It was a struggle because I've been shutting down a little bit. My intention for the year is to really minimize and declutter, especially on technology stuff. Okay, meme number 1, and I very much made sure they're minimal. Okay, describe. You got a comic strip with 4 squares starting at square 1. Go ahead, describe the picture, and what does it say? Can you see it?
What does it say? It's drama on the
So
wall?
describe. There's a guy.
So there's a guy that's he's got a little box that says you need to do something about this, and it's a box. I think it says trauma on it.
Yes, it does.
And he's talking to his brain there.
And then on the other side's a little brain guy.
Okay, and the brain guy, he's thinking. He's got a light bulb. He had an idea, and
This is the brain does.
and he says, "Yee!"
And guess what the box says now?
They just relabeled it as humor.
This is true, right?
Right? Yeah.
And it's good. Like, I think right now I'm in a safe place for humor.
Right.
But I definitely can see the folks, especially in the rooms sometimes, where humor is their only response. And that's a mask. There's no, like when I'm looking at them and I'm having that one-on-one interaction and I'm asking them a serious question. We could name some people that we know mutually.
Yep.
Always got some jokes, but they're not funny anymore. And that's when I'm like, I try, but I'm not going to push anybody. But I'm like, well, I'm here if you want to stop with the yokes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, I mean, it's funny for sure. I mean, there was one
It's
that like
cute,
I had
too.
seen one like that, and it was something about you call it trauma, and then it was like a storefront from a Chinese food place, and it was like with spicy memories or something. Like that. But I mean, yeah, it's good to be able to have a sense of humor about the stuff. But if your only way of dealing with that, with your traumas, is humor, then you're not really dealing with them, right? Like we can laugh about it and whatnot, but like we were just talking about before this, like certain people in particular, that's all they have is humor is the only thing they've developed to deal with those traumas, and like I feel for them. It's like you gotta at some point you have to deal and work through those things.
Well, I hope they have a sponsor, a therapist, or a guide, or a mentor, somebody that they're letting that guard down with. Okay, here we go. Beat number 2. Oh, there's a skeleton sitting on a rock, holding up the leg, just looking casual. What does it say?
So it says in quotes up top, "You're so chill." And the skeleton does look pretty relaxed there, with the knee up on the rock and whatnot, and says, "Thanks, I'm completely disconnected from reality at all times."
Could you relate to that one at all?
Yeah, I actually wish I was more disconnected from reality at times. That's kind of what we were just talking about, right? Like I'm always doing this or that, and lately I've been much more comfortable with kind of disconnecting a little bit, taking my naps and stuff, so.
Yes, this is unfortunately very easy for me to do. But the healthy way is more like I don't watch the news.
Yeah.
I only go on social media here and there, posts or spreading the word, or as that night the memes. Okay, then I like that part. But when it goes into more isolating, that's when I know. Okay, I'm too disconnected. Now I'm starting to push people away, and I'm putting those walls up instead of boundaries. So, checking myself. Oh, this one's gonna be funny. I want to get this mug. So it's a coffee mug. It's a coffee mug. What does it look like?
Yeah, it's kind of like coffee mugs, like grabbing its own love handle there, I guess.
His little belly button?
Little belly button, yeah. It's my coffee cup reminding me why I shouldn't have a donut with it.
Again, hermiting, I eat a lot more. And I've been trying to, like, really understand sleep better at a deeper capacity. And guess what I found out last night? Which I think I heard this before, but I totally dissociated it. Is you shouldn't eat at least 3 hours before you go to bed.
Uh-oh.
So I ate before I came here, Mike.
Yeah.
Because my favorite thing to do is eat in bed before I fall asleep.
On the way home.
Oh, just stay up for 3 hours.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
But it throws off your whole next day.
That's good to know, though. Okay.
Okay, but I've been packing on some stuff. So
Even snacks, though, or like full meals?
not eat at all, because it's the way it was scientifically explained, like the way your body needs to, like, start processing it and all that. Well, guess what? I don't remember whether micro something. When you shut off, like your brain you go into your REM sleep, all those stop working.
Oh.
So your food sits there, depending on what you're eating, and it's not healthy. And I've been doing this consistently for a very long time. It's kind of an addiction, and so it just sits there all night. It's really bad for your body.
Right.
And you can't process it until you wake up, and I'm like, ooh, okay, starting day one. Okay, this is just words from WordPoint. What does it say?
When you are full of love, it confuses people who are full of shit.
Boom! Is this correct?
Right, yeah. I think it's very much to like the natural pessimistic mentality that so many
Hater.
people carry around, right? Like, you see somebody walking down the street dancing to their music, and you're like, look at that weirdo. And you're
Yep.
like, no, I look at it like, man, that's probably the happiest person I'm going to see in a week's time, Like,
Yeah.
they're just happy
I
as
wonder
can
what they're
be.
listening to.
Right, yeah.
Haters gonna hate. Okay. There's a guy. Look at the. Okay, so it's a guy with a side baseball cap on. He's throwing up some signs. He's looking gangsta, and he's got like some chains around his neck. Except the chain has a really cool. It's a carton of eggs, right? And what does it say, Mike? This is true.
Saying rappers in 2023 trying to show that they have a lot of money.
This fucking carton of eggs, Mike. I used to buy that giant pack at Walmart. There's a carton of them for like $4. I shit you not. And ever since this bullshit inflation thing, I just went to get a carton at fucking Target, and it was almost $5. Oh my god! I don't even eat eggs. They're for my kids. I'm like, I guess we're not going for eggs this week. It's too bad. No Friday sandwiches.
Yeah, I just went to the grocery store to pick up a couple odds and ends, some sandwich stuffings, and I was like, normally I feel like that would have been like maybe a $50 trip, and I was like, yeah, $120 into it before I left. It's like, eesh.
Okay, pro tip, especially for broke ass moms out there, go on Amazon, especially if you get food assistance, because you need it. There's nothing wrong with that. They deliver for free, by the way, and they take your food assistance things. Okay, so this is great, especially if your car is a piece of shit. Yes, Amazon Prime, and they give me Prime at a discount too. They're helping the independent, parents. I'll say parents, not just moms. Guess what though? I got eggs, cage free, $3.
What?
Thank you, Amazon.
Cheaper through them.
I know, it's great. Okay, beam number 6. Oh, we only got 4 more. So it's a pickup semi-truck. It's a semi-truck, and there's something on the side on the back of his bumper that says it's circled.
Yeah, they've got those drop-down bumpers on the back of the semi-truck, and it says, test your airbag here.
Lovely, especially when there's icy roads.
No.
Ooh. Oh, this one's really good. This is Bruce Lee, a Bruce Lee quote. Can you read it? Are you able to see it? Okay.
Bruce Lee said, don't speak negatively about yourself, even as a joke. Your body doesn't know the difference. Words are energy and cast spells. That's why it's called spelling. Change the way you speak about yourself, and you can change your life. What you're not changing, you are also choosing.
Choosing.
I love that. Yeah.
Right?
That drives me crazy when I'm talking to somebody and they'll call themselves an idiot or something. Just don't do that.
Yep.
Just don't do it. And like,
Yes, the affirmations. And here's the thing. At the end of the day, for me, Mike, read a couple books. When I started, actually, before I even read in the book, I decided I'm not going to say bridge alcoholic or bridge addict anymore, because I'm not fucking drinking alcohol, and I'm not, I made this choice.
Right.
I've surrendered. I do not align with it. I don't care who has a problem with it in the meetings. So I just say bridge recovery. And the minute I started doing that, everywhere I go, Mike, it's just this weight lifted, and I get to, it's such a positive, it's just like, I'm serious, it like changed my brain of thinking, like take a new path, and I've been on that path consistently for 3 years, Mike. I could never get past the 1 year, 18-month hump. So it's worked, saying these things out loud that I feel connected to, that don't make me feel icky or shameful or, oh, I just got to fit in with everybody. Like, people that do want to say they're alcoholic and whatever, go ahead. I mean, if that's what you align with and you feel comfortable with. But for me, it was negative. It was a negative thing. It was a label. I don't like labels.
Yeah. No, that's definitely it. Like you're saying, the positive affirmations and anything. I mean, whether it's saying it outwardly out loud or you're saying it to yourself, like we always have to be aware of our thoughts and how we're labeling ourselves, things we're calling ourselves. You know, like there was part of those. What was the 4 agreements?
Yes.
Right. And something on there kind of jumped out at me as well too, because it's one of those things that if you let those words swirl around in your head, right, and it was part of the workbook I think you were reading, is that the voices, you know, that'll tell you bad things about yourself, that'll cut you down. You know, you have all these different demons in there, and if you're sitting and you're listening to those, you're leaning into those words and those negative self-talk type things, it's going to get imprinted on you, you know, and you start to believe that stuff. So.
Yes, it fucks up your energy.
Yeah.
And that's 100%. So now think about what you're thinking. Okay? Just hearing that, it sounds so simple, Mike.
It sounds simple.
But when it really registered, and yes, I am my own worst enemy. So I'm hearing my self-talk, you know, especially when I hate being late anywhere. You know, I'm like, oh, see, this is what happens. You blah, 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 start talking shit to myself. And then now I'm like, no, back it up, sister. You did the best you could. You're on your way to work. You're going to get there when you get there. There's no point in road raging. But I stop beating myself up. And like you, I use your affirmation. I say, you know what? I'm doing the best that I can, and that's good enough. Right. Fuck, I am enough. That's good enough.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, 2 more. Oh, it's Kermit. I love Kermit. Those just jump out to me. He's looking at a laptop, looking all cute. What does it say?
Me looking for things I don't want to find out.
Is that social media?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Can you align with that at all?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I'd probably think of more of like conspiracy theories and things, you know, like looking those up, be like, you know what, maybe I'm just going to have better mental health if I don't actually know all of the shit that's going on behind the scenes.
Yes. Okay, so here's the thing. With recovery, I especially noticed, you know, I've just never been a person that really gives a shit what other people are doing, you know. I used to care a lot of what other people would say about me. Now I could care whatever. That was all BS anyway. I know it's just them, so I'm not taking it personally. But here's the thing. I'm not gonna lie. So in recovery, especially a lot of new people coming in. Actually, no, that's a lie. There's people that I know for a fact, 5-10 years, they still love that chaos. That before you might have blamed it on your addictions, like you like that whole adrenaline. Okay, fuck that. They like that drama. Right. They still like that chaos. They cause that chaos. Right. I don't hate all those people anymore.
Oh, and they'll
as soon as I get that,
deny that they love the chaos.
Oh, well, I just wanted you to know. No, there's a specific reason you're hanging out with that person. You had to tell me this.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm not going to lie. I'll hear something, and I might 5 or 10 minutes go just check on some people. I don't creep on Facebook ever, but it is entertaining, I'll tell you. Right. And somebody posted about me, whatever, and I didn't even know until other people tell me that. I was like, okay, I got into it. I got sucked in for a minute. I'm looking at other comments and other people because I got screenshots. So I did for a little bit, and then I realized it was starting to make me feel yucky, icky. Right. So I'm thinking about what I'm thinking. My inner me girl's like, see, this is the truth. You are la, la, la. And I started to question myself for a minute there. Like, could you really have been this person? And that's when I had to cut that shit off. Like, go outside, have a little break, talk to your bestie, Sarah. You know, talk to your other roommate, Holly. You know what's good. And check in with them. You know, I check in with the people that I love and that love me. And I was centered. And fuck Facebook. Like, I had to take a Facebook break. Yep. Last and final meme. Thoughts wonder. Quote. Here we go.
I love it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. When you start seeing your worth, you'll find it harder to stay around people who don't.
Woo woo.
Yeah, right? There's that self-worth that I was talking about, right? Yeah, absolutely. And that's, you know, I have the steps in the program to thank for that. But yeah, finding that self-worth and being able to start building confidence back and stuff like that, and being able to look life in the eyes again, you know, and then you start getting these affirmations are, you know, they're real, right? You start to believe them and things, you know, like that. Yeah, I love that. And obviously, yeah, when you start seeing your worth and people don't have time for you, or people don't, you know, they value your time or whatnot. Yeah, you don't have time for that, and it's okay. It's like, you don't have to feel like you're losing any kind of a attachment or anything anymore, you know, like you understand what a healthy relationship looks like and what the people you want to have around you. it's like one of those quotes is you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. I love that one. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot my pro tips sound effects. Ding! But that's, yes, I wrote that down when you said that in a meeting because that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And, this gets hard because back in the day, family, quote unquote family, or people that you think you have to align with is not true. No. You might have to communicate with them because you share children. But that's it. Right. That's it. They could literally state that. But I just want, something you said before brings me back to this too, is I remember walking in and I had no self-value. I had no confidence, and I was such in a dark place that, 17 years is a long time, like, having some bad stuff's happened. And I was blaming myself. I believed I did not deserve forgiveness. So I wouldn't let anyone love me. I wouldn't let anyone forgive because I couldn't forgive myself. That makes me emotional because that's what these steps gave me, Mike. Because I could fucking lay that shit out. And I just recommend, this is what I did. Find one person. Shout out Marcy. She was that one person that I connected with for many reasons, but whatever reason that you can trust, that you can let that mask down. And I could be open and honest with all my dark skeletons, Mike, that I thought were hideous or whatever. Nobody could ever love me, but she still loved me. And at that point, when she gave me like that green light, I was able to, it wasn't instant, let me tell you, I could start to forgive myself. And that's when I started to finally start to have some worth. And I realized that I deserve to have power. So step one, yes.
Power back.
That's what I say, the 12 steps, people hate on them, but, that's because I think they haven't gone through them all the way. Or you started with the fucking big book, it's like me. Right. But go outside of that. And what I did, I found this book, I found the 4 Agreements, I found great women that I connected with, I found Spark, I found other paths, but they all did lead me back to this foundation of these 12 steps and making them my own and connecting with them every single day the way it aligns with my energies. Right? Any final thoughts? Look at Mike, it's only 9:07. That's not bad.
Not bad, right?
Final thoughts? Step one?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the thing, right? It's where it all starts. It's the reason it's step one is that whole, you admit that powerlessness. And I mean, it's such a tough thing to do. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to be powerless. Nobody wants to be weak or anything. But, for me, it was really just the willingness to get out of my own damn way and try something different.
Mm-hmm.
And like you were just saying too, the whole self-worth thing. Like when I was first down in that program and in treatment and whatnot, I didn't know who I was. Hell, for the first couple of weeks, I didn't know where I was. I just got off a plane all foggy and here, but talking to a sponsor and like you're saying, unloading all these secrets and all this nasty stuff that had kind of been
buried in me.
Right, and fueling those demons and those voices and the self-doubts and stuff and getting rid of that and giving that to somebody else. It was such a beautiful thing because, I didn't want to look up as I was going through my fifth with them, I'm just looking at my notebook and doing that. And I'm thinking,
I didn't look up till the end.
That's the thing. I'm going to look up and there's going to be an empty chair. Like he ran off or something,
yes.
I guaranteed he's just going to be appalled that he can't. I looked up and he had a little grin on his face and he was just nodding his head. And I was like, what? I just unloaded this stuff, man. I've been carrying this
heavy
stuff around
shit
for 35 years, it's too much. And, that's right where it started too, though. It's getting rid of some of that stuff, unloading some of that garbage, and then you can actually start building on the good stuff that's inside of you. Mm-hmm. Get that trash out of the way. And
at the end of the day, as a woman, there was a lot of those things. That's why I do align with a lot of women groups now, and I go around empowering women and trying to caveman instincts as a female, science facts here, Mike. I watched this whole long hour documentary or whatever, but it's our caveman instincts to feel competitive, right? Here's what's so great is I think about my thinking, right? So I always check the room, what other females, because a lot of females are haters, right? So I'm like, okay, who, caveman's like competition, who gonna be hating on you, who's gonna be looking at you or talking shit about you. But then I change it and I'm like, who's gonna be your best friend? Who are you gonna make like you? Like who? Because I feel like the more of us, the better. Yes, we can be very powerful together in recovery. Right. So, okay. Well, that's a wrap, I think. We're going to end it with my favorite music. But, comments. Hold on. Sorry. I promise. This is a live show. Sarah said, the spell, S-P-E-L-L, in quotes, ing concept. Yes! Oh, yeah, that's right. Sarah, thank you. squirrel brain brought me back to the 4 agreements. So they talk about words are magical, and they do cast spells, right? So the negative, poisonous spells, gossiping, all that shit. But you could do positive ones, and like.
You should only do positive ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just, I think for me, when I really unloaded a lot of heavy dark shit that had been making me sick, like with that one person, my mentor guide that I trusted, it was like this release. And the fact I didn't look up at her, I still remember her face, still makes me want to cry. And I looked at her eyes, and she just still like fucking loved me, Mike. And I thought she, because I've had many looks of disgust for the things that I've done or whatever. And so just to see this person just still love me, I was like, well, damn, I better give her a reason to love me then.
I got more work to do.
Because at that point, I didn't love myself. Hell no, Right. But it is so spell, and especially when people share like heavy shit, like Brene was saying, like Me Too. Like I don't even say Me Too, because some of the shit that I hear, and you don't, and I've learned, don't even say, because I hate when people are like, I can't even understand that. This woman shared this amazing story of her 3 daughters that were murdered. I'm like, I can't even imagine how that feels. Well, guess what she shared? She's like, I hate when people say that. Because if you have children, I don't recommend that you think about it, but yes, you can imagine what that would fucking feel like. Like, yee! But here's what she recommends saying, and here's what I say anyway, is like, Brene says, I don't know what to say right now, but I'm glad that you shared that with me. I don't say you share that with me. I will just say, man, I don't even know what to say, but I say I'm fucking flattered. Like, I'm honored you share that with me because you trust me. I don't say you trust me and get all excited. I was like,
keep the tone down for that, but yeah.
But just, like, thank you for, like, that makes me feel honored that you trust me like that. Because I deserve that damn trust, I ain't got to prove it. But you just gave it to me, And that's mutual. Like, I trust everyone unless they give me a reason not to. Right? So. Okay. Well, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
And I will see you next month, right?
Yep.
Step 2. I ordered you the used copy. You're going to be getting it. It's $5.42. Keep it.
Okay.
Gas money. But we will see that step 2. So anybody listening to, feel free to post comments after. I go check everything after, by the way. Any questions or any things that maybe we didn't hit or that stuck out or you disagree with. I forget things. It's only an hour, so.
Right.
But thank you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Okay, let's all right now just brush off our shoulders. Okay? Yes, because I've been having bad week. Start today.
Yeah.
Let's have a great week.
Start now. Start
Get up and wake up and worship that sun god.
Right.
All right, good night. Oh, let me get to the music. There we go. I love it. Returning home. Let's go home, Mike.
All right.
It's cold.
I gotta get some Taco Bell.